Bring that mic a little bit closer if you don't mind.
Right there.
Even closer.
Check.
Closer.
Check. All right. Any closer is a violation. I do not consent.
Greetings, folks. Welcome back to the Jason Damico show and podcast. Hopefully this is on iTunes and Spotify at this point, and I have the RSS code readily available for that listening capability. Very special guest for you, as always. And good friend of mine for the last, over a decade now.
Over a decade.
Crazy. Definitely. This artist is a native of North Carolina like myself. Unlike myself, incredible saxophonist, keyboardist, songwriter of over 15 years, training and experience. Playing constantly in the Raleigh-Durham area and abroad. International performer and teacher, band leader for The Next Life, as well as founding member of Zoo Crew, band based in Durham. We'll get more into that. Fantastic group. And founder and owner of the artist empowerment brand Bull City in the Basement. We'll get more into that. Current host of the Morning Jazz on WNCU 90.7 FM. Great station. Check it out. And entrepreneur, educator, mentor, advocating for a world of progressive millennials whom are constantly evolving. Please welcome my good friend, Mr. Alan Thompson.
Man, I definitely appreciate that intro, man.
Non-rehearsed. How did that go? It was all right. Total improv.
Nah, man.
You're jazz cat, man.
Good, man.
I got to try and keep up with you.
Well, we'll get more into that. Been definitely my past 10 years being here in the area, I've been exposed to a lot, and it's definitely constantly reshaping my mind, reshaping the way I think, and I think, in the end, it's definitely making me the person I feel like I'm destined to be. So
that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
the process. It's funny. I put a Facebook post up last night. It would be totally irrelevant to the time lapse on whenever everybody's seeing this and it's edited, but I said something like faith ... shaking my head. Like just when you think you've reached a certain place where it's like, oh, this is nice. Boom, man. Whole other level. Whole other level.
Absolutely.
And just good to have you here, man.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. I'm also noticing that it's a lot of changes down here in this basement since I've been here.
Last time you were here, there were
strip walls
and, everything was just unfinished and insulation falling out of the cracks. So,
and I see you have a knack for home decor.
Well, you can thank Mama Damico for that one.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. She's great at it. But, yeah, man, hey, let's get into your beginning stages. And I think, we've known each other for a long time, but I don't even know if I know all of this about your beginning stages and how you got into jazz, how you got into music in general.
Yeah. It's understandable. I think when we first met, we all kind of, between me, you, Jared, we all kind of got thrown into the fire. It's like, okay, there's these three guys. All right, put you in the circle. All right, create.
Right. And that was, I think, we originally were working on Saeed's project, right? That's how this all came about.
Yeah, it was a music soundtrack
for a
biopic of Marvin Gaye.
I'm trying to remember the name of Prince of Hitsville.
Yeah, Prince of
Hitsville.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, dude, I gotta get Saeed on the show. I gotta give him a call. So yeah, even before those days, like, how did this start for you, man?
Let's see. It depends on how far you want to go back. So born in 91. My dad is from High Point, North Carolina. The one of the earliest towns of the musician that we know is John Coltrane. Spent majority of his early childhood in High Point, North Carolina. Actually went to the same school, attended the same school as my aunt Carolyn. My mother's from Greensboro, North Carolina. They met, they conceived. they had me. As far as I can remember, I've always been around music. Music has always been a very important part of our family. Not too many musicians in my family, although music was more like a hobby. Most of the women in my family sang in the choir. I was really influenced by my mom at a certain time to where I started singing in the choir. My dad, he was he had a very strong love for percussion, so he was a congalero in his own right, and he exposed me to a lot of music. We went to a lot of cultural festivals in Greensboro. At that time, growing up, there was a lot of cultural festivals, a lot of reggae festivals, a lot of folk music festivals, a lot of gospel festivals, a lot of musical talent was in Greensboro at that time, and I don't think that it gets the recognition that it deserves. It definitely inspired me. But it started there, so I'm around all of this music, and then growing up in the East Side community of Greensboro, being exposed to hip hop, we're talking precursor Lil Wayne before the solo career. We're talking Hot Boys, Cash Money, Trick Daddy, Petey Pablo. A lot of southern.
A lot of names I haven't heard in a while, man.
Yeah, a lot of southern hip hop. A lot of hip hop from Texas, Atlanta, Florida. So first instrument I ever played was piano. I picked it up from the minister of music in our church by the name of Duncan Butler. He taught on the south side of Greensboro, and we didn't have the money to we couldn't afford the lessons. So he worked out a barter with my grandmother, who was on the choir. She was in the senior choir, and in exchange for lessons, she would cook him meals. So my mom would drop me off at the piano studio, run her errands, and when I would leave the house, my grandmother would give me a meal. She would say, "Get us to Mr. Butler."
Right.
So I would go there and give him the food, and he would teach me.
And that food was probably priceless.
Oh yeah. That food raised me. And raised a lot of other people in our family.
Yeah, man.
It was a small house. A lot of people in this house. About 3-bedroom house. At most, I recall it being 10 to 11 people in the house. It just constantly
full house.
Yeah. A lot of family. I remember three of my siblings, there's 5 of us all together, 3 of my siblings. The other 2, we had different mothers, so they would stay from time to time, maybe a few weeks out the summer. And my uncle and my uncle's kids, who alternated, he had a room with a bunk bed. 1 month, his oldest daughter might be staying with him. The next month, it might be his middle daughter. A lot of family.
A lot of traffic.
Yeah, a lot of traffic going on.
A lot of traffic. But, that's... I'm sure it helped in some ways. Like I'm an only child, so for me it was just like when I was young, it was just so depressing. Yeah. And then it got to a point where it's like, oh wow, you see how other families are, and just all the drama that happens between the siblings. Not all families are like that, but I was just, oh man, this is kind of cool, because it's really you have to grow what you're planted, you know. So everybody adapts to certain to just certain prospects, I guess. Like for you, you're probably there's a threshold of things that you could tolerate more than the average person, just because of
the dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely has its pros and cons. Growing as anyone can imagine. I don't know, maybe you might have watched the sitcom on TV where there was like a lot of the big family, the stereotypical 90s big family sitcoms. Right. You definitely had to know how to share. You had to know how to share.
Well, I think it's a blessing. I mean, because you just were probably exposed to more from just different sources. And yeah, were you the oldest?
I was the oldest in... Well, it's weird because I was the oldest of my siblings in the household, but then my older cousin also stayed with us, who was my uncle's daughter, and she was older than me, and she stayed with us majority of my life, as long as I can remember. So I looked at her as my big sister.
Right.
And I had a big sister who I didn't really get to know until my later years, transitioning to an adult. So it was very, very interesting. Definitely a lot of personal space was tested at the time. I remember.
You got to do like quick story.
All right, quick story. All right, quick story.
There's got to be something.
Yeah, I'm just gonna paint a picture. How about we start typical weekday morning, getting ready for school. Everybody's trying to get into the shower. We only have one bathroom, so one person's taking the shower, the other person's taking a dump on the toilet, and then another person might be brushing their teeth.
Yo!
and then there's another person outside banging on the door saying, "Let me in. I need to get in. Get out the shower."
All right. So okay.
Yeah.
Is that it? I mean,
dude,
it's just rotation.
Yeah, rotation. I mean, everybody was had task, and everybody.
Damn.
Yeah, man. A lot of, like I said, a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And wow. That's how we lived. My grandmother, she slept in the same room with my sister once. Well, all right. So if I could back up to when we were in elementary school, there was a time, because my grandparents also, it was my grandparents' house, and we also stayed with them. A lot of people in my family would stay with my grandparents as a means of becoming stable, gaining stability.
Right.
The house was paid for, I believe, if I can recall. It's been so long ago. My grandfather helped build that house. It was one of the first houses in this particular neighborhood, which was right at the cusp of the county line at the time. As I got older, it expanded. But man, I remember my mother, my father, me, my brother, and my sister all sleeping horizontal in the same bed. And then as we got older, people started to get bigger, and then like I remember my dad and my sister slept on the floor. Then me and my brother got out the room, and we started sleeping on the couches. And
isn't this crazy? Like, this is the beauty of the show. Like, I've had people on that I've known for over 10 years. It's like all these stories that we would have never. Think about it. We had all these rehearsals. We played shows together. There's a lot of time in the studio. I never knew this.
Yeah,
never knew this.
Well, when you're growing up and when you're young, I guess there was a time where I was very ashamed of it, because I mean there's the other side of it. I mean, poverty, growing up in poverty, and when you're young and you're going to school and stuff, you don't realize everybody else's story. I didn't realize that until later on, that it wasn't just our family, but poverty was a thing in our community, and everybody was trying to find ways of survival and ways to just lock in and become stable and keep their families together. I know my dad and my uncle, both as young black men, dealt with trying to maintain their families in the midst of spouse separation. My dad had a whole prior marriage, and when he divorced and married my mother, he was still dealing with the issues of that, trying to be present in these children's lives and trying to make sure that they knew their siblings over here. So yeah, it's a lot of different things, but with life, you find in the midst of adversity, you find ways to appreciate what you have, and I think that's something that we definitely all had, was the appreciation of the life that we had. And so many beautiful, like you said, so many beautiful stories come out of it that you remember. Yeah.
Well, I mean, adversity is everything. It's everything.
Absolutely.
My great grandparents, it's just like the stories that I've heard from passed down when they came over from Italy like 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's just unbelievable. It's the things that people do, whether you're an artist or whether you're a contractor or whatever it is. It's just the human fabric of adversity, and it comes in a variety of ways. But hopefully it's I think some people, unfortunately, they aren't able to use it as a springboard or a fuel for the fire, and that's unfortunate. But I mean, what I commend you, man, for whatever it was that you went through and who you are now. It's a testament to who you are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What doesn't kill you
makes you stronger.
Yeah, it's this.
Yeah.
I know it's cliche, but
but it's so true.
That's something that I've taken to heart my entire life. I can recall just so much adversity that we dealt with, but at the same time, taking situations and finding the best out of them. Growing up in my neighborhood, I met some of the greatest friends, some of the most solid friends, loyal, trustworthy, talented as well. I grew up around a lot of talented people, and I think that also shaped my creativity. Definitely, not even just music, talking sports, athletes. I remember, as most people that are below 5'6", there comes a point in your life where your height is challenged. I grew up, I've always been a short person, and there was a time where I wasn't as confident in my height. But then I remember going to middle school and seeing dudes my size dunking on basketball goals. and man, dude, a few people, I had a friend, we call him Five. And literally this guy's like 5 feet tall, we're like the same height. And I remember him being one of the most talented athletes. Unfortunately, he also had some life situations that kept him from being on the straight and narrow. Definitely a lot of negative influences in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But I remember we were in high school. This guy was benching like 380 and freaking, it was crazy, man. He was the fastest guy on the track team. In PE, he was crossing up everybody on the court. He would get in the fights and would be knocking out dudes 6 feet tall. And I was like, that's the homie right there.
Five.
Yeah, Five. Yeah,
Is Five still around?
Yeah,
you
definitely.
Still talk to Five?
Yeah. We talk to each other from time to time. I remember a few years back, after I got off of, I want to say I got off of a tour, but I had a longing to just reconnect with a lot of my friends from my childhood, and I just went back. I hit them up on Facebook like, "Yo, I want to get up with you." And we got up with each other, and kind of like how we're doing right now.
Right.
There was a lot of stuff I didn't really know about this dude. We always went to school together. We were in two complete opposite sides of Greensboro. I remember the area that he grew up in, the South Side, he was from the projects. He grew up in this project complex. It was Hampton Homes. Yeah. He was from the South Side, Hampton Homes, and he was telling me just about, all the stuff that he got exposed to. And then I'm looking at, like my story, I'm talking about being stuck in a bathroom with 4 people. This dude really he really was living a life at an early age that you probably see on movies,
Yeah.
But, it's all, life is all about experiences. And I think one of the things that when you listen to my music and you hear is experience. I think experience shapes my music. You can hear the places that I've been. You can hear the relationships that I've had with people. You can hear the different dynamics of humanity in my music, and that's what I strive to capture when I'm recording, writing, performing, all of the above.
It's a perfect segue because that was right where I was going to go with this. I mean, it had to have been, a channeling, through all of that. I mean, the music, it's just the outlet.
Yeah. I mean, it made me fearless.
Right.
My father was really, and you had the experience of meeting my dad.
Your dad was just phenomenal. I mean, we miss him all right. It's just like
But man, dude, anybody that, and I found this out. So I was at the funeral last week, and I met a lot of people that I didn't know who were friends with him, and everybody said the same thing. And I started to realize things about my dad that I didn't even really think of. You could ask 20 people who my dad was, and you get 20 different answers. That's one. His personality was that vibrant,
right?
But also, he was a crazy motherfucker. Like he was. I say that with the utmost pride, because I think what people mistook as crazy, they actually mistook it for fearlessness. He was fearless, and I think that I adopted that personality. So when it was cool when I was 7, 8, 9 years old, and we'd be out in a group of people. He would just say, "Hey man, go perform. Hey, go do a dance move or play this instrument." Or go dance with Aunt such and such that I never met at the family reunion. Go ask her to dance. I was never shy. A lot of my other siblings were shy, but I was never shy.
Where do you think that came from with him?
It also just studying his upbringing. Him telling me stories about growing up on High Point, growing up in the South Side of High Point, in the midst of a lot of drugs, a lot of crime, a lot of poverty. People needed outlets. Yeah. And sometimes people do whatever it takes.
You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. And my dad, he was, as far as I know, what people tell me, he was like the best. Once again, he was one of them dudes, one of those 5 foot tall guys, is like the fastest guy, the strongest guy, a winner, natural born winner. Just
the original 5.
Yeah, the original 5. Right. Shout out to all the 5 footers out there.
Yeah, man. Shouty.
What? I'll roll with it. Man, I'm
5. What are you? 5?
I'm 5'3".
5'3".
Well, it says 5'4" on my driver's license.
I'm 5'7", so it's still kind of like the same.
We can kind of put you in. We can give you some segue in the club.
My friend Zeke, shout out to Zeke. I got to get him on the show at some point when I'm down in Atlanta. I think he's like 5'7", 5'8". It's like hashtag Team Hobbit. If you go on my Instagram, it's just like plaguing me with Team Hobbit. Team Hobbit's like, all right, man.
Yeah. We'll let you in the club, Jason. I don't know if you can attend all the meetings. Some of the meetings might be disclosed, but we'll let you in the club.
What's sad is that's like, I still probably can't even get 1 foot away from the basket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the sad part about it.
Man, basketball is crazy right now, man. These cats are jumping in the constellation, man. That's a whole nother story.
Well, they're jumping their own height then. If you're right, because it's 10 feet. If they're 5 something.
Yeah. It's deep, man.
That's deep. That's high.
I don't even know how we got here.
I don't know. College,
okay.
So for music.
Yeah. All right. So that very interesting. While I was in high school, just like many kids in high school, we're all just trying to figure out who we are, what we want to do, trying to figure out our passion.
Yep.
By this time, I was really excelling in music. All my peers knew I began to gain a reputation as one of the most talented people that everybody around me knew. I was most talented in the yearbook, high school yearbook. I was doing all of these all-county competitions. I got my first gig when I was 13.
Same age as me.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
I was 13 years old. It was at the YMCA, the Hayes Taylor YMCA in Greensboro. I was playing for a banquet, solo piano for a banquet for about an hour. I got paid $50. I still have the check, a printed copy of the check.
Changes things real quick, doesn't it?
But and this is a side note.
Yeah.
It's real interesting. That was my first gig at 13 years old. And then to be an adult now at 28, and people hit me up asking me if I want to do $50 gigs. You see what I did there? Nah, but
oh yeah, man.
Yeah, but no, that's neither here nor there.
Nah, but
that's a whole nother political discussion.
we're on the same same wavelength there.
Yeah, absolutely. But going back to college, by the time I was a senior, I was thinking about it. Well, no, I take that back. It was no question in mind that I wanted to go to North Carolina Central University. And at the time,
great school.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't know much about the school, but what really drove me to go there was Branford Marsalis.
Yeah, man.
I met Dr. Wiggins, who is right now the head of the Jazz Studies Department. He's been the head of the Jazz Studies Department, and he was the conductor for All County. Around the same year, the first year that I had got in, my position was second tenor.
Did we brush shoulders at a competition? Because I was with Duke in high school, and I think I remember seeing you playing in the jazz, because I was in the jazz band at Duke at like 15 or 16. You were in the jazz band at NCCU.
No. I wasn't in the jazz band at NCCU.
Oh, you weren't?
Yeah. No, this was still high school. So yeah. No. Yeah. I'm getting to it.
Getting there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting there. So I was in the All County Jazz Band in high school.
Okay.
And I met Dr. Wiggins, who was the guest conductor of the concert. So they brought Dr. Wiggins in to conduct this concert, and he gave us some music to read, and he was impressed with my soloing. As he was impressed with me as a soloist, second tenor. That wasn't even my main instrument. My main instrument was alto saxophone.
Right.
But I ended up getting in on tenor sax. I don't even know how that happened, but he was interested, and he was telling me about North Carolina Central, and he was telling me about Branford Marsalis around that time. So, we're in our late 20s. So we're millennials. We're also the beginning of the YouTube generation. So I remember from middle school on up, just binging YouTube on our PC. And that was really what exposed me to music in the world outside of Greensboro. So I really gained an interest in Branford Marsalis as a musician. And then when I found out that he lived in North Carolina, and he lived an hour away from me, and he was the artist at residence at a university. Oh, now I want to go to college. I was really shaky about the idea of going to college. Once again, going back to the community that I'm from, we definitely a lot of successful people have came out of Guilford County, have came out of the Triad, but my immediate surroundings were so just right here. The only things at the time that I really saw that were of influence was either you played ball, you sold drugs, you gangbanged, or you was in a church family. I didn't really see too many examples of immediate people around me that were successful in music. Music was kind of like a hobby thing. It's like, oh, you're talented at it. Oh, you could take this and go to school. But I didn't necessarily want to go to school. I think the idea when I was in high school, more so of me graduating and focusing on my music and recording, especially when I met you and when I met Jared, especially, I met Jared before I met you.
Yeah.
And meeting that dude was also an eye opener. Just all of, you're not even 18 and you got all this, you have recording equipment. What kind of crazy kid has all of this recording equipment? Then I met you and it's like, oh, you got recording equipment too. Oh, y'all both nuts.
Yeah, man. And it's bad because it's taking up the whole place here, as you see.
Yeah, but see, that also has shaped me as an adult now and a parent. I see how both of your parents invested in you. They made certain investments, in a way that it would directly affect you. And I really admire that. And because of that, I admire both of your parents. So, yeah, he told me about the school. I attended North Carolina Central University. I met Branford Marsalis, who was probably one of the most influential people in my life at the time. That wasn't the first time I met him, though. The first time I met him was in high school. I keep taking these flashbacks.
It's all right, man.
Man, a lot of real stuff happened in high school.
Go for it.
Yeah, but
it's the nature of the show. It's uncut and raw. Here we are, man.
Yeah. So I met it just kind of made me reflect on just meeting him in high school, and him also telling me, it was Branford and Dr. Wiggins telling me I should go to Central. So yeah, I met him. He started showing me the ropes, man, showing me music, showing me culture. A lot of our lessons were probably 10% actually going over music, and the other 90% just having conversations, talking about the art, talking about the music, or listening to music as well. Yeah. And then talking about politics and society and stuff like that.
It all fuses.
Yeah, exactly.
It all. One of my big mentors in New York, who is still a huge person in my life. When I was in middle school, it was the same thing. He said, like, stay in English, stay in history, read, and read, because it's going to make the art better. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you more well-rounded. And he's right. He's right. It's amazing how there's so many. It's kind of like Eddie Van Halen talks about, where we're all sponges.
Yeah.
We're all filters at the end, sponges, and you soak up and then you squeeze it, and then whatever comes out comes out. So the artistic process, for sure. I mean, while we're there, when did you start really? Because we co-wrote together.
Yeah.
I think that was like some of the first co-writing I ever did was with you. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, me too.
What a time, man.
Yeah. That was also my introduction into writing as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was also for Jared. Yeah, we getting into some blood ties right now. But
I never even thought about this. Yeah, that's right. I mean, because I think I was like 16 or 17.
Yeah, because you were younger than us, like by a year or so.
Yeah, I'm 20. I just turned 26 last week.
2 years. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I'll be 29 in December.
Okay. Oh, you just had a birthday too.
Yeah, but
cool.
Yeah, it's interesting looking back at that stuff.
Yeah,
and just seeing how.
Dude, I can't believe it's already been 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been a decade, man. Just seeing how the paths align us for the future.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we're all doing it.
Yeah, I think
we're all still doing it, and we're doing. It's our lives, man.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
I said sometimes I even imagine myself going back into the past and talking to my former selves and just having conversations with them.
Well, the crazy thing is that's that's actually the last question I ask on the show.
Oh, dude.
So hold on to that.
Oh man,
we're getting there.
I'm tapping in some Oracle vibes right now.
Yeah, man, there's some voodoo going on here.
Yeah,
something going on.
Hey, it's a real thing, man.
So, college. Great experience, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Right?
I stayed for a couple of years and I dropped out.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I dropped out, man. I remember. So, freshman year, like most years, everybody's trying to figure it out. Man.
A lot of gen ed, right?
You're
not really doing the major.
A lot of parties, all of that stuff. Meeting people, dating, stuff like that.
Breakups,
yeah, all of that. So, but also music, man. I was really dedicated at Central. I think one thing that Central, their jazz department really taught me was how to focus in and dedicate the hours to practicing and perfecting your craft. And that was something that I wasn't used to. I was just always naturally talented. And I was always the most talented person in the room. But then I went to Central and I said, oh, this person's talented. This person's talented. I need to practice. So I would spend countless hours in the practice room in the Edmond music building. And I remember I would even pack clothes to stay overnight. And I would get up. I would fall asleep at the piano or the practice bench where I was practicing saxophone. And I would wake up. It would be like 6 a.m. I'd put my clothes on, go to breakfast, and then go back to the music building and take my classes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, 'cause I can attest back to that time too, where, you just, it's funny that you bring that up, 'cause I think back to it, and it's really amazing that we had the gift of like resilience, perhaps, or just the gift of passion to do it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you think about that. I mean, we're talking for me. I mean, there was at least 3 or 4 years where I played basically every day and practiced every day on guitar in my later teen years for like 10 to 12 hours a day. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then drums before that, when I was in middle school, was the same thing. Like 6-8 hours at a time at times. It's just like, you think it's a little crazy when you think back on it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a little crazy, but then, it's amazing. You just get to walk into a room. There's a drum set there. There's a guitar there. There's a sax there, piano. And you just sit down and you're one with it. There's no better feeling in the world, in my opinion. I mean,
I can agree. I've always, music has, I mean, not only has it been a passion for me, but music has been a very sacred part of my life. I can go back to just numerous spiritual encounters that I've experienced on stage.
Yeah,
and not just necessarily in church, but outside of church as well. The bandstand is my sanctuary, and I really feel at home there, and it's always been like that. And that's the feeling that I've always chased. Even looking back to some of the greats that I've always admired, people like Jimi Hendrix and people like John Coltrane, who have always had who've always expressed their spiritual connection with the music and how the music helps heighten their spiritual awareness. So, I mean,
you ever hit those moments like in soloing where you're just, you're in, you know what I mean? Like you're in the zone, time stops, everything just kind of like, everything just goes away. Everything. And it's almost like you get to that point where you can't do any wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like you're just like in that zone, and you can go out of key, you can go off time, and it doesn't matter because it's just like everything is right. And then you look back on tape and it's like, yeah.
And then
it's not like that all the time, but you have those moments where
then you put the joint down in the ashtray. I gotta stop. But dude, I definitely feel what you're saying. I really started to embrace that when I was in college as well. I think ultimately that's what pushed me to discontinue my collegiate endeavors around I want to say going into junior year, about third year there. I started to get some opportunities to play on the road, and I was playing frequently in the city. I'll never forget Jeremy Bean Clemens and Mavis Swan Poole. They put me on my first tour.
Cool.
They're a duo, and they were based in New York at the time. They were also graduates of North Carolina Central University. They had a group called Soul Understated. They still have a group called Soul Understated. You should definitely check their music out.
Yeah.
A lot of greasy soul, a lot of funk, psychedelic vibes. It's a really dope, man. And I remember getting a call from them, and I took the megabus to New York. Yeah. I say I took the megabus to
all that training.
Oh man.
With the bathroom prepared you for
the megabus.
The megabus, man. See, I'm telling you, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it's a wicked thing, man. But so I'm trying to find my way in this huge city that I've only seen on TV. I think in New York, I think of all of the movies that I've watched and all of the 90s hip hop that I was really
It's pretty
into.
wild, isn't it, when you come out of wherever you came out of Penn Station, right? Or wherever the bus,
Yeah. It dropped me off like in the middle of Manhattan.
Yeah, probably Penn Station.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, man.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was
wild.
It was really overwhelming. And honestly, the first time I went up there, man, I was scared, bro. I was very scared. Very nervous, very shaky because I was overwhelmed. I never saw that many people ever in my life. You know, I mean, Greensboro is kind of a city, but it's still the country. You know, it's still like I grew up playing in the woods, bro.
Yeah.
I grew up with 10 kids on my street in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
10 friends, and I'm looking around. There's thousands of people just walking around, yelling, horns.
It's wild.
Yeah, it was an entire beast, and I remember hooking up with Bean. He lived in Brooklyn, and he lived off of Flatbush.
Yeah,
and
I think I was just there like a couple months ago.
Yes, it's a dope place, man.
Yeah,
and first thing he says to me, he's like, he's from St. Louis. He has a very thick accent, you know, but he was like, "Yeah, boy, you old country boy in here in the city, you know, up here in the city, old country boy, you know what I'm saying?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, yeah, he showed me a lot of ropes. He really Central trained. I think if Central trained me for the technique, I would say Jeremy Clemens, we call him Bean. Bean trained me. He trained me with meeting people. He trained me with experience, how to approach experience, how to be sensitive to experience.
The street smarts to a sense, or the interpersonal dynamic.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, he was also definitely a technician. He's a drummer. I'm definitely in a band leader, you know, and he taught me how to be a better band leader. He taught me how to really care for compositions and care for music. And he taught me how to treat my bandmates. So, you know, and then also, you know, from that going into Zoo Crew.
Yeah. Let's get into it. I love this band, man. You guys have been around for, what, 5 years now?
Yeah,
At
close
least.
to. Yeah, we solidified the band in 2012.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So about 8 years.
8.
Yeah, about 8 years, man.
Crazy.
Yeah, 7 years. Dude, a lot of evolving in that band.
Right.
I remember when we started at North Carolina Central. We all met in the music department. John is from New Jersey.
John's on drums, right?
Yeah.
Killer drummer.
Jonathan Curry.
Killer.
Definitely check him out. Check out the work that he's doing.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of great things on the road with Rhapsody, Masego. Really, really dope drummer.
Cool.
Yeah.
We got to get him on if he's ever in the Carolinas, or, well, if I'm in Jersey and he's in Jersey at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll have to hit him up.
Yeah. Chris Sharp, bassist, Russell Favret, all of these dudes are like my brothers, and we all met in school.
Yeah.
And precursor to us starting the band, the bond was solidified just through partying, smoking weed, drinking, listening to music, going to concerts, and just getting into stuff, man. Really, just trying to enjoy life.
Right.
And yeah, that's how it started. Those were like the founding principles.
Hey, it hasn't not worked.
Right.
In the past.
Well,
You know.
there was the time I almost fell off the balcony.
Hey, man.
Nah, that's neither here nor there.
It's all about that experience and adversity and character building.
Yeah, right.
You know.
Yeah, man, dude, I don't know. Wait, it's like trying to talk about Zoo Crew it's like I turn into this philosopher, just this old sage, because I really feel like mysticism brought me to Zoo Crew. We all kind of met in a mystic way. We were all like puzzle pieces that were just from completely different environments that just met at this college and just fit.
Well, I mean, it's again, it's not like it's not happened before.
Exactly.
You hear about this all the time. I mean, the chemistry. When I see you guys on Instagram, and it's just like, dude, the musicianship and the you can feel it just in the air on the screen.
Yeah.
You know,
sure.
the chemistry is just there. You guys are cooking.
Yeah. And I mean that comes from a lot of our personal influences as individuals. I think something that we all have in common is our openness towards the unknown. There's a lot of different musical taste in the band, and it's always weird because people call us a jazz band. Like, yo, yeah, I know Zoo Crew, they're a young jazz band, but the older cats that actually play jazz, they looking at us like, yeah, man, you check out that Charlie Parker record. You need to go back to that Charlie Parker record. But you know, I mean, I love it. You know, I like the idea of creating something that's original and listening to how it affects different people and listening to different people's take on it.
And I think you'll agree with me. Some of our favorite artists and most influential artists for both of us were probably genre-less.
Yeah,
you know, you take a look at Prince, you take a look at whoever. I mean, it's just like those are the guys to me.
Yeah,
the Doors, Chili Peppers, you know, a couple of the Stevie Wonder too. I mean, it's just like
all original.
Oh, totally original.
All original.
Even Michael Jackson. Like, I mean, what is this? It's a little bit of rock, a little bit of pop, a little bit of R&B, a little bit of soul, a little bit of electronica later.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, and it's just great music. It's like, doesn't matter. Sorry to digress, but
no.
Well, no, I was gonna say cut like a buffalo.
Oh God, dude, dead weather.
Yo,
weather.
Why was that a thing? Like, where did that come from? Who brought that in?
I brought that
was
up.
you.
Yeah, I brought that up, bro.
Now, I don't know where that came. You know, it's Jack White.
Yeah.
When he went off and did the dead weather thing, but it's just like that just became our thing, man.
Yeah, I don't even know if you can. That video is even on YouTube.
I think it still is.
Traces of it. I think I've seen like remakes. I don't know. I gotta look into
some sick organ though.
Something happened with that.
Something happened. Yeah, and you were just like, oh, I gotta show you. Did you see this? And I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah. You know, I look like a woman, but like a buffalo.
I mean, like, man, it was something dope about that. You know, I remember seeing that. I used to be afraid of the dark. I'll be honest with you.
Man, we're just like, there's something in the air over there today because you're just all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, coming out with all this stuff, man.
Yeah, but I was afraid of the dark all the way up to like my early adulthood.
Last week. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. I better not be afraid of the dark with all these kids of mine. And I got a house now. I got to pay bills. I got to pay light bills. I better not be afraid of the dark. But I remember I used to leave the TV on VH1, and they used to play videos in the morning. I remember seeing that video in the morning. I remember just getting up out. I can't even say my bed. Getting up out my couch. I had a couch. But then I remember, yo, this is dope. This is weird. But that was the first thing I said. Yo, this is weird.
What was it on MTV or like YouTube?
VH1.
It was on VH1.
It was on VH1.
Yo.
Back when VH1 played music videos.
Man, you're dating us now. Because I remember I used to watch VH1 too when I was in high school. Get about it now. I mean, it's still around, but it's like old documentaries. It's not really
reality
TV.
Yeah. I remember that, man.
So the Next Life, that's another project.
Yeah, that's something that I'm currently working on. And just as a disclaimer out there, people always ask me, dude, what's the crew doing? What's Zoo Crew doing? I tell everybody the same. Zoo Crew is working. if anything, we're working harder than we've ever been working. You know, you
guys got new music coming out.
Yeah. We got new music, and we recorded this music 2 years ago. I listen to it, and it's still relevant.
Cool.
It's still something that I've never heard before, and those are good signs. There was a period within those 2 years where life hit us all, and we all got called to do different things. John Curry started, he began playing with him and Russell. Were both playing with Rhapsody, who Grammy Award winning artists from North Carolina. Yeah. Definitely one of the artists that are putting North Carolina on the map right now in the rap game. They were touring with her, and he met Masego. he actually met Masego. He invited Masego to our house during Art of Cool Festival in Durham, and we had like a big house party. And
cool, man.
And I guess they connected, and he ended up going on a year-long tour with him. Chris Sharp, who's on bass, went back to school to get his master's degree. Me and Russ started working on our own solo projects. I encourage any artist out there that's in a band, because it seems like being in a band is a dying thing. Always take the time to expound on other parts of your personal life, because you never know when, if one of your band members gets called to go on tour, you just gonna wait till they come back.
Great advice. Yeah, great advice.
So I started honing in, and I started working on my own music, and thus The Next Life was created.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look forward to more music from Zoo Crew coming very soon, and also look for music from The Next Life coming really soon.
Cool, man. Bull City in the Basement.
Okay.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so Bull City in the Basement is a collaboration, actually, that was inspired through me and my wife. I got married.
Congrats. Thank you. Well.
Yeah, thank you. We're approaching our 2-year anniversary in a few months.
Cool.
And it's definitely been an amazing experience. I know that it's weird, man, how I view marriage growing up. It's funny how when I would be talking to a majority of the men that tried to convince me that I should hold off on marriage and I should think twice about it were married men. And I think it says a lot about the culture of marriage. I think it's something that men don't often, in our culture, we don't get a chance to really emote with other men about these topics. I think that more so, it's more common to hear women talk about these things, because marriage culture, I think, and feminine culture are kind of aligned together. At least for what I see when I'm on social media or when I'm watching movies, love stories and stuff like that. Like, women have a special connection when it comes to the idea of marriage. And I more so see men running from the idea of marriage. I don't know.
It's funny because when I was younger, I was always running towards it. Now that I'm older, I'm running away from it. It's strange, man.
That's interesting. That's
well,
very,
you know me. I'm
we
fairly interesting.
We might have to switch roles, man. I might have to interview you. But
be here forever, man.
Yeah. So we started Bull City in the Basement. Our mission is to provide culturally diverse outlets for growth and opportunity in the Triangle and surrounding areas. Being here in the past 10 years, I've and playing on the local scene, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about community, and community is important for me, especially now that I have a family. I'm a homeowner. I live here, so it's, I can still travel the world. I can still tour. I can still build ties with other artists internationally. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I also have an obligation to make sure my backyard is taken care of. And I think that's something that Bull City in the Basement is inspiring me to do. I have a strong want and urge to be connected with the community and help the community to continue to develop. There's a lot of talent in the Triangle, but I don't necessarily know if the business side of it, the industrial side of it, is as cultivated as the talent itself. So Bull City in the Basement pushed me to find these answers. And the truth of the matter is that there's a lot of things in the industry on a local level. And I think that there are other people in other communities that could probably relate, but there are a lot of narratives that we've just adopted that are very old and played out. And I think it's time to rewrite the book. Ideas like, just to think about the stereotypical local artist. People most often that aren't even into music related to being a starving artist. If you're not traveling, right? And, it's like, I remember when I first dropped out of college and I started doing music full time. I would go home and visit my family, and I would hear, "Oh, you still doing the music thing?" or you're a full-time musician? That's all you do? Are you eating? I wanted to change the narrative. I wanted to create some outlets to make local music more lucrative, and to give these artists, many of my peers, the exposure and recognition that they deserve. I think that local music in the Triangle has a lot to is a huge attribute to the growth and development of the economy as a whole. You know, you look at all the new all the new developments that are coming into the city. I remember living in Durham 10 years ago. Ghost town. Downtown was like a ghost town.
Man, it's beautiful now. They've done a lot of great things there.
Yeah.
New construction.
Yeah, a lot of new
renovation. Yeah.
But remember what we were talking about earlier, there's always like this balance effect. So, you know, at the same time when all of this new development was coming and all of this new money was coming in, it pushed a lot of people to the side. And I mean, unfortunately, a lot of those people were underprivileged. A lot of them were people of color who got pushed to the side. A lot of businesses and stuff like that. People that once had establishments that were the breeding ground for live music and entertainment and culture, it all kind of got pushed to the side. So what we wanted to do was create platforms through Bull City in the Basement that would empower artists. And pretty much our message is that if you're playing on a local level, you don't have to fight with the bar, with how much the bar makes, or you don't have to accept whatever is offered your way. We can all hone in on each other's gifts, develop each other. We can all invest into creating our own spaces. We can, we can divest from establishments. We don't have to be subject to playing only for establishments. There's nothing wrong with playing for establishments. There's nothing wrong. And I think often people confuse what we're doing with we're fighting the establishment. No, we're not fighting the establishment. We want to work with the establishment, but we just want to create a sense of diversity and fairness within the entire playing field.
Options.
Yeah, options.
Options, man.
Yeah.
Build something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do something different.
Yeah.
We want to do something different, man.
That's cool, man. So real quick, tell me about the radio show, right? 90.7.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing that for...
It's been about a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, been a couple of years. I didn't prior to me receiving the opportunity, I didn't really think about radio. I mean, I wasn't a stranger to radio interviews as an artist. Of course, pushing our music, I've definitely been to a lot of different radio stations and interviewed with a lot of radio hosts. But I remember like it was yesterday. We went to North Carolina Central University. At the time, Zoo Crew was living in the house together, and we had our album out. And we just went up to the radio station one day. We decided to knock on the door and give them our CD, and they offered us an interview right on the spot. So we did it. We did an interview at the time with Awesome Inshara, who is the former host of Bop Blues and Ballads, which was the morning slot that I'm on now. And I remember about a week later, I got a phone call from the general manager, and she was impressed by how the interview went, particularly with me and the conversations that I had with the host, my responses to certain questions. She was just really interested in my personality. So she extended me the opportunity. At that time, I almost didn't answer that phone call. I was very hungover from the night before. I had a show. I stayed out late. And I saw a strange number on my phone, and I thought it was a bill collector. I wasn't really into paying debts at that time. but now I am. now I am. We just put that out there. But yeah, so we linked up. I went to the station. I trained for about a week under Awesome. That's his name. And then I remember on that Friday, he asked me, was I interested in doing this? And I said, yeah. And he said, cool, because I'm retiring.
Wow.
Like today.
Timing,
yeah,
man.
I'm retiring like today.
Wow.
I was like, okay.
Well,
it got real.
It got real quick.
I wondered if he waited until he saw that I was decent enough to tell me that he was going to retire, because he didn't tell me that initially.
Right.
I just thought I was just learning the trade or learning the skill, and then everything else would be left up to me. But yeah, so from there, I began doing it. The more I did it, the more comfortable I got at it, and I love it. I love the people that call in, the people that listen. I love meeting people on the streets that can recognize my voice. It's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like talking to people. I like communicating. I like playing music.
Yeah, man. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? It's another outlet. It's another medium for bringing people together.
Absolutely.
And celebrating a genre that you and I both love. I'm not really in it much anymore, obviously, but it's funny because my next point here is where's jazz going? We grew up playing a lot of different kinds of jazz. Me personally, a lot of the classics were my favorites, but then you get into the fusion guys, and it's like, whoa, the blend of sounds.
Yeah.
And even the classic guys started going down that road too. So obviously you're doing a lot to pioneer. Where do you think this genre is going as far as sound and, some of the trends that you're seeing right now?
Well, hopefully sometime in the near future, I don't even want to think of the idea of a genre. I think that if anything, genres have destroyed more careers than they have built careers.
It's a great point.
I got to give a shout out to a great mentor, a friend by the name of Nicholas Payton, who's a native of New Orleans. Incredible trumpeter. I got a chance to interview him at the radio station, and through that, our relationship began. And he's head of a movement called BAM, the acronym for Black American Music. And his whole philosophy is that, well, first of all, there's nothing in the records that says that when this music was deemed jazz, that it was actually named that by anybody that was creating the music at the time.
Right.
He said, Louis Armstrong didn't call it jazz music. The original cats in New Orleans, they weren't calling it jazz music. It was an institutionalized term that was more so created to downgrade the music more than anything, because music was created by Black people in America. And fast forward to now, I think these genres have been have only served the purpose of being colloquialisms for stigmas and stereotypes. If you come to my community,
or it puts it in a box.
Yeah, it puts it in a box.
Creatively, even from that aspect,
Yeah, if you come to my community, if you come to Greensboro and you go to go to a middle school, or if I go up to the middle school and I say, hey, I'm going to take you to a rock concert, they're going to automatically assume that it's all white people at this concert. And it's an all white band. Or even if I go back and tell them, hey, I have a jazz show and that I'm playing, even me, the black guy, the black guy from your community, they're going to think that it's going to be all white people there, and they're going to think I have all white people in my band.
Right.
It's just, these genres have just created so many stigmas, but I think music is music, and we're at a point now in our country where it's safe to say that every culturally everything is mixing together, and it's creating so many different new variations of subisms.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm making up words here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it's a good way of looking at it, man.
yeah, I can't even. We got to decolonize genres, and
I like that.
Yeah, and it don't have to be a campaign. We just
do it.
Yeah, just make good music. Be original. Be true to yourself.
Yeah. Future plans for you?
Okay.
Personally, what do you think?
Outside of planning where I'm taking my wife for our honeymoon. Honeymoon. Every day is a honeymoon. No, I mean our anniversary. But I had to say that. I know she likes that.
Yeah.
Every day is our honeymoon. But outside of that, I'm constantly creating. Bull City in the Basement has a series that we started last year called Culture Power Hour. It happens bi-weekly on Sundays. Typically, we're looking at making some more variations of Culture Power Hour. These are hour-long events where we have art, vendors, musicians, a lot of creatives come to these events. So it's a hub. It's become a hub for creatives to come and meet other creatives. So we got that going on. We're talking about it a few nights ago. We were talking about doing a children's version of Culture Power Hour, and where we encourage people to bring their kids, and we just create this child-friendly environment where they can hear music and play games. And, yeah. So everything I'm doing right now is community driven. Outside of definitely. I have some more content coming out, so make sure that you follow me on social media. I try to.
We'll get all your stuff in the description box.
I try to stay current with that, So.
Yeah, same here.
Keyword try.
Hence, why there's cameras and lights, and
Dude, it's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, true that. I got this little thing here called the shootout, where I just say a word and you just say a word back or a phrase back. It's like a popcorn answer.
Okay.
I'm just curious to get your thoughts on it, and then we got one last question, then we'll head our way out.
Okay.
But sax. Hold on. That's your promo video right there. That's it.
All right. Fever.
Cool.
That could be a name. Sax Fever.
Yeah.
Sax Fever.
You might want to marinate on that. Drums.
Butter.
Good. Bass.
Louder.
I thought you were gonna say syrup. Guitar.
Sitar.
Woo! They're sick, man. They are nasty. You got a good sitar player?
Listen, I met a sitar player not too long ago, a few months ago. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Oh, what a sound.
Yeah.
What a sound.
Amazing.
Especially when they're in that, like, because they're very dominant friendly, like Mixolydian type of thing. And it's just a lot of, I don't know, a lot of dominant 7 stuff that's really cool with that they throw out.
The texture, too. Just the texture of the tone of it. I think it takes me somewhere.
You think?
Yeah, I think it's.
You think it does?
Yeah, I think
it does. Keys, piano, whatever.
Let's see, keys. I would say bling.
Man, these are interesting answers. Totally left field. Not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the if I could picture a piano in a comic book, comic books are notorious for onomatopoeia. Bling. I want my cartoon piano to sound like the word bling.
Interesting. Vocals.
More. I even though I'm an instrumentalist, I really appreciate words in a song.
Yeah.
And I mean, now my new music is I'm incorporating lyrics. I'm writing lyrics.
Cool, man. Mike.
The GOAT. I had to shout my pops out.
Stage.
Universe.
Ooh. Studio.
Me.
Live.
Jive.
Radio.
Jockey.
Jazz.
Dead.
Woo! Wow. Well, that's all I got for you. Last question.
It's deep.
We've been all over the pool today, man. Yeah. Backflips, breaking our necks,
Definitely.
deep end, shallow end.
A lot of good laughs.
The ice cream melting on our hand in the sun. I don't know. Whatever. I don't know where I'm going with this.
That just makes me think about lots of farts. I'm lactose intolerant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see, everything goes back to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like,
the bathroom is the foundation.
It's the foundation of this interview, and it's going to be the...
You got to call it Jason Damico Bathroom Podcast.
The bathroom... That's a great idea, man. It's a great idea. You could do a bathroom podcast. No, it's a terrible idea, too, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. You just do it in the bathroom. Doesn't mean you're doing anything else in the bathroom while you're doing it, but it's just in the bathroom.
I'm just going to sip water.
Okay. And cut like a buffalo. So if you could go back in time to your 15-year-old self, what would you tell him with the experience that you have now?
Yeah. I would tell my 15-year-old self to chill. I think as a teenager, I was really jittery with the idea of just I think I was trying too hard to find out who I was, and totally not realizing that if I would have just taken the time to just meditate more, then I could actually feel who I was. I was trying to find myself more so than feel myself.
Man, it's
if that
killer.
Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it makes 100% sense to me.
Yeah,
hopefully it does for everybody else. But no, I'm vibing with that, man. 100%.
Yeah. Like I just needed. If I would have just focused, if I would have just had more self affirmation in who I was, then I would have saved myself a lot of trouble in other ways, because I mean, dude, I'm very fortunate to be here, to be alive. I've definitely been in some very risky situations all throughout my life. That's one thing that I would just tell myself, to just chill and listen more and focus. I would tell myself to focus. But then again, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right.
And I'm proud.
It's a paradox, man.
Yeah, I'm proud of
it. It's a paradox. Yeah. Any last words?
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for inviting me out here.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what you called me yesterday or
2 days ago.
Yeah, you called me 2 days ago.
I think we're doing like 4 this week, so I think you're number 2 this week. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm very glad to be here. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Anybody that's out there listening, I just want them to know, if you have dreams, if you have goals, you're never too old or you're never too young to get them out. We're all creatives.
Yeah.
We're all creatives. I don't care what your occupation is, even if it doesn't have anything to do with music. We're all creatives, and we all live in the same universe. And one thing that will never stop working is the universe.
Well said.
Yeah.
Subscribe to this man. Like this man. Yeah. Go harass this man. No, I'm just kidding. But no. We'll have go in the description box below, and also subscribe to this channel if you want to see more content like this, and hit the notification bell so you are notified when this stuff comes out. But hey, man, this is sick. Thanks so much again. And send me some of the links with the new music, and we'll make sure we have it in the description box for you.
Definitely.
And we'll snap a selfie here in a second.
Let's get it.
Yeah. we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.